Last week I misspoke, and I knew better. It had not been too long ago that I had put the information down and knew the information to be true. And yesterday I forgot all about it. Okay, not yesterday, last week, forgot all about it. All right, in talking about Solomon and his wives, that he had first off married Pharaoh's daughter, and that basically that was a peace agreement between Israel and Egypt. But also he married all these other princesses from various kingdoms of Sidon, of Moab, of the Hittites, of various sorts. And he had 700 of them. And I misspoke. I said that Saul and David didn't do such things, but actually David did. David did marry the daughter of the king of Geshur. Her name was Maacah. She was the daughter of Talmah, king of Geshur. Geshur is a kingdom to the east, to the east of Galilee is where that was. And she was the mother, Maacah was the mother of Absalom and Tamar. And of course, you know the events that happened. You have God through Nathan, the prophet, telling David that the sword will not depart from your house. And so, you have Amnon who rapes Tamar. Absalom kills Amnon. And then later you have Solomon who kills Adonijah. But just bringing that out. And also that Absalom and Tamar were unique among the children of David because they were the only ones of his children who could say, my father is a king and my grandfather is a king. They're the only ones that could say that. And I suppose Absalom saw himself, when he killed his brother, when he killed Amnon, he escaped to Geshur. And he's basically going to his grandparents' house is what he's doing. And that's where he sought refuge. Okay, now, we are in the book of Proverbs. I've done that correction and all of that. We're in the book of Proverbs, and I thought that just as a matter of interest, we would go do one proverb in the Bible not found in the book of Proverbs. Okay? And some of these proverbs are what people were saying at that particular time. And they had made it this thing of wisdom, and it wasn't. Some of them are out and out false, and God addresses those. But we'll start off with this one. It's in 1 Samuel chapter 10, verse 12. And the proverb has to do, because when I say it's a proverb, I mean the Bible calls it a proverb. The people then said this or made this proverb. It became a proverb. All right, this has to do with Saul, first king of Israel, that Saul was not exactly an overly righteous or religious man. Let's just go ahead and face it. He wasn't. And then suddenly, Saul, not only is he anointed king, and he's not exactly sure what he's supposed to do with that for a while. He's kind of like he's just returning back to what he had been doing, his life, and then kind of gets into it later when necessary. But Saul, on occasion, does prophesy. And on this particular occasion, he begins prophesying with all of these others who are prophesying. And there was a a proverb that came from this. It became a proverb, and the proverb is this: is Saul also among the prophets? So this is 1 Samuel chapter 10 and verse 12. So the Bible calls it a proverb. The people evidently regard it as a proverb. What does it mean? Is Saul also among the prophets? I think, just my interpretation, I think it means that even the unlikely can occur. or even something that's unbelievable. Unbelievable things can happen. I think that's what that means, because they were taken aback. Of those who knew Saul is, what, he's now a prophet? That seems kind of out of character, but he's a prophet now? And I think that's what that means. And it doesn't give us an interpretation, but just by the reaction and the response of the people, I think that's what it became to mean. Now, let's go where we ended last week. We want to be in Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 10. This is where we ended. We're still in this discourse, and we're going to be in it for a while. It is the Father speaking to the Son. And in this discourse, we have the value of wisdom being discussed, and things that are going to be potential problems ahead for the Son. Potential problems. Now, I may have said this in this class. I can't remember. I said it not too long ago, and it may have been in another setting. I can't remember. But it concerned a teenage class I was teaching years ago. And it was just all these kids in this room. And I forgot what we were discussing. But we were discussing something that is commonly found, is a common sin. It's something that can be found in society. Not hard to do. We were discussing something. And then one of the girls said, "Do you really see any of us doing that?" And I had to pause. And I mean, realistically, yes. Any of you could. You haven't been tested yet. You're not an adult yet. You're not on your own yet. You're still in this kind of in a bit of a bubble of childhood. You are protected to it, hopefully to a large degree, and you're not tempted like you will be later in life. Because when you are young, there are certain things that Satan can tempt you with. There are certain things Satan can't tempt you with. Not yet, but later on. Yeah, sure, later on. And you just haven't seen it as yet. Yes, the fact is any one of you could, and including myself, anyone could in time. But this is what is in this discourse of things preparing the Son for very common mistakes and very common temptations that are out there. So we go to Proverbs chapter 4, verse 10. "Hear, my son, and receive my sayings, and the years of your life will be many." And there's this connection between wisdom and life. He's going to say it again coming up very soon, verse 13. "I have taught you in the way of wisdom. I have led you in right paths. When you walk, your steps will not be hindered, and when you run, you will not stumble. Take firm hold of instruction. Do not let her go. Keep her, for she is your life." There it is. Keep hold of wisdom. This is what keeps you alive, spiritually and also physically. And he's already talked about those who lie in wait for their own blood. You don't want to be involved with them. You don't want to be involved with them. And also that of the seductress who the path that she leads also goes down to the grave. You need to take care of all this and keep to the paths that you have been shown. Stay there. Now, we come to verse 15. "Do not enter the path of the wicked, and do not walk in the way of evil. Avoid it, do not travel on it, turn away from it, and pass on." We'll get to verse 16 in just a second. But this is very similar. So, do not enter the path of the wicked, do not walk in the way of evil, avoid it, do not travel on it, turn away from it, and pass on. Well, Psalm 1, "Blessed is the man who does" what? Actually, who is avoiding, who walks not in the counsel of the ungodly. He's not walking there. nor stands in the paths of sinners. He's not there. Nor sits in the seat of the scornful. He's not there. Here are these negatives, things that the one who's blessed avoids all of that. And here in Proverbs, it's very similar, just slightly different wording. Do not enter the path of the wicked. Here is this warning. Don't do it. Do not walk in the way of evil. Avoid it. Do not travel on it. Turn away. Okay, now, at this moment, we're not discussing a point in this to look at, but we will soon. We will soon, or I say the book of Proverbs will soon. Why should you avoid it? Well, there's a couple of reasons to avoid such things. And, actually, let's go to verse 16. For they do not sleep unless they have done evil, and their sleep is taken away unless they make someone fall. I am mistaken. Here's precisely what we're looking for. This is it. I had another verse in mind coming up. They do not sleep unless they have done evil, and their sleep is taken away unless they make someone fall. Here is a reason to avoid it. You will be the target. You will be the prey to the predator. This is very much like an older rabbit telling a younger rabbit, you don't want to be around the fox. You don't want to be around the wolf. You don't even come close to them. You don't want to be near them at all. Well, why would that be? Yeah, they're going to tear you to shreds. You're going to be breakfast, is what you're going to be. And here is this type of person that isn't satisfied unless they do evil. And they're not satisfied unless they have corrupted someone today. And to think of that level of wickedness, of lying in bed and wondering, well, who did I corrupt today? Or what wickedness did I do today? And that is the thing of being satisfied or comforted by the wickedness that has been done. All right? To enjoy my cleverness, to enjoy the thing that I did today. No, it wasn't any good. Yeah, it was wicked. And that they have, in fact, made someone to stumble. This is someone who corrupts. It's not someone who is just ignorantly bouncing along in life and making mistakes. This is someone who wants you to make mistakes too. And they want to send you there. And this is very indicative of Genesis 3 with Satan, with the serpent, and Eve. All right? Eve had done Satan no harm. Neither did Adam. No harm whatsoever. They posed no threat. They had offended him in no way. They're absolutely innocent, and he can't stand it. Okay? They are innocent, and they must be corrupted. That's the way he sees them. They are targets, and of course, he begins his lying in Genesis chapter 3, well, at least lying to mankind. And like I say, I don't know what lies he may have done beforehand, because there would be others to lie to. All right, there would be others that he could have lied to prior to Eve existing. Now, let's look at verse 17. This goes hand in hand with verse 18, talking about the same people. For they eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence. And sometimes they don't even know it. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they don't even know it. That, yeah, the bread of wickedness, they're glad to do that, but the wine of violence, that seems like something they wouldn't want to do. But in fact, yeah, in fact they are. They are imbibing in that. They are guzzling that down. This bit of of violence. And so let's just go to Psalm 10 quickly. If I can get there quickly. Okay. Psalm 10, and we begin in verse 1. Why do you stand afar off, O Lord? Why do you hide in times of trouble? The wicked in their pride persecute the poor. Let them be caught in the plot which they have devised. For the wicked boasts of his heart's desire. He blesses the greedy. He renounces the Lord. The wicked in his proud countenance, does not seek God. God is in none of his thoughts. His ways are always prospering. Your judgments are far above out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he sneers at them. He said in his heart, I shall not be moved. I shall never see adversity. His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and oppression. Under his tongue is Under his tongue is trouble and iniquity. He sits in the lurking places of the villages. In the secret places he murders the innocent. His eyes are secretly fixed on the helpless. He lies in wait secretly as a lion in his den. He lies in wait to catch the poor. He draws the poor when he draws him into his net. So he crouches, he lies low, that the helpless may fall by his strength. He has said in his heart, God has forgotten. He hides his face, he will never see. Arise, O Lord. O God, lift up your hand. Do not forget the humble. Why do the wicked renounce God? He has said in his heart, you will not require an account. So this is more of the person that Solomon is describing here in Proverbs chapter 4. Now, we're back in chapter 4, Proverbs 4, and continuing in this person. Verse 19, the way of the wicked is like darkness. They do not know what makes them stumble. And they don't. They're clueless. They can't understand why they're doing the things that they're doing. They can't understand what they're doing and the ramifications of it and the seriousness of it, much less the why they are doing it. They can't really know the fact that what they are doing is phenomenally wicked. They don't know. And that's why it's easy for a man to justify himself in whatever he did. I have a feeling that if you were to go to the most wicked, as we would classify them, the most wicked people or men who have ever walked the face of the earth, every one of them could have justified their actions. Every one of them. And whatever they do happens to be okay. Whatever it is, no matter how wicked it is. And the fact that you have individuals who they put their life into, they create a wreckage out of their life, and they don't know how that occurred. And personally, I know someone who blames everybody else, including just bad luck. Okay, it's not bad luck. All right, you have these major problems in your life. Aside from being an alcoholic, okay, you have these major problems in your life, and there's a reason why your life has turned out like this. It's no mystery. And you can't blame anybody else because nobody else made these decisions for you. You did it. And here you have been stumbling in the dark, having no idea where they're going, having no idea how they got there. All right? You're stumbling in the dark. This is what happened. And you don't have to keep your life as a wreckage. Yeah, there'll be certain things that will not change. Certain consequences that they're always going to be hanging around. You can't, your husband left you. All right, you can't do anything about that. That's different. Your children left you. You can't do anything about that. But you can make corrections and make your life better. You can do it. And it doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be in the darkness. Now, verse 20. My son, give attention to my words. Incline your ear to my sayings. Do not let them depart from your eyes. Keep them in the midst of your heart, for they are life to those who find them, and health to all their flesh. Keep your heart with all diligence, for out of it spring the issues of life. Put away from you a deceitful mouth, and put perverse lips far from you. Let your eyes look straight and your eyelids look right before you. Now, notice verse 24. Put away a deceitful mouth and put perverse lips far from you, or devious talk. It doesn't matter. I like perverse lips far from you. Start here. This is a good place to start. Get rid of the crooked speech. Get rid of the perverse lips. Get rid of all these things. And now here comes what we already saw from the wicked. All right, it's going to be addressing it from a different direction. The way of the wicked is like deep darkness. They do not know over what they stumble. Now he's going to be telling him, consider your steps. Consider, and you're not going to be able to consider your steps unless you've got some light going on. Unless you've got some light here from wisdom. You're not going to be able to consider your steps, because you're not going to be able to know which step is right and which step is wrong. Which step actually is wisdom, which step is just complete folly and foolishness. You won't know. But considering them is actually doing better than what was just described concerning the wicked, of they're just in darkness. They don't know where they're going, and quite possibly don't even care. All right? Very possibly don't even care where they're going. They don't consider it. But you must consider. And he says, let your eyes look directly forward, verse 25, and your gaze be straight before you. Ponder the path of your feet. Then all your ways will be sure. Now, if we go to chapter 5, verse 6, she does not ponder the path of life. Now, this is talking about the adulteress. She doesn't ponder the path she's on. Complete opposite to what Solomon is telling his son. Ponder the path of your feet, then all your ways will be sure. Verse 27, do not swerve to the right or to the left. Turn your foot away from evil. All right, here is temptation on every side. Temptation. You have a straight path that you have been shown. Don't go to the right or to the left. Now, Satan will be happy to using right and left in the directions off the path. Satan will be happy to tempt you from one direction or the other, however you might be tempted. And the easiest way is the way he's going to take it, to get you off the path. And as we have explained, Satan can use many methods in his temptation. He can motivate you by way of pleasure, and that the grass seems greener on the other side of the hill, off the path. All right? That's pleasure. Or he can intimidate you and in fear try to get you off the path, going from one direction or another. He doesn't care what direction you take. He does not care, as long as it's not the path of wisdom, as long as it's not the path of God. Pick and choose your error. He doesn't care. Error is what he wants. Error corrupts. That's all he's after. And here we see this pondering your path. Ponder the path of your feet. Consider it. Now, some think it absolutely ridiculous that you would take time to think about where you are and where you're going, of the decisions that are coming down the line. Decisions that come today, decisions that may come very soon. To even ponder them, just as the ad says, do it. Well, maybe it's not the thing you ought to do. maybe you need to think before you make a commitment. Maybe you need to think before you jump off that cliff. Maybe you need to think before you drink whatever that happens to be. All right? I'll tell a story about a friend in high school. He survived. Matter of fact, he's still alive today, surprisingly. We had chemistry class together. And I don't know if he set this up or if he didn't. But it was stupid. But he wanted to show his courage, if you can call it that, or his level of thinking he's invulnerable. But he would do this. We had chemistry class, and of course at chemistry class we would have lab time where we would have to go fill a test tube with a couple of things and see what happens, or we'd heat the thing up and see what happens. Anyway, we all knew what had been in those test tubes. All right, we all knew. I don't know if the test tubes were cleaned on a regular basis. I don't know if he did. He might have. I don't know. He could do any of the above. But he would begin his lab by taking a test tube, filling it with water, and downing it. All right, that was dumb. And I told him, you don't know what might happen inside your stomach right now. It could be that everything in your stomach just crystallized because of something in that test tube. That was a dumb thing to do. Now here is taking it from that as a way of illustrating of people who will just do things without thinking of what could occur. Because he could have just died right there. He could have just died. Now, he was trying to impress everybody by what he was doing. Okay, and with I think in that class, most were thinking, that's kind of dumb. You might not want to do that. I'm not going to do that. No one else was taken in by it, which, yeah, okay, whatever you get, you deserve if you're going to follow that. All right, this would be one of those things of pondering your path, pondering what it is that you're doing, and there are bigger things than what he was doing. Yes, bigger things that are absolutely immoral and will also bring others into it. Now, let's go to chapter 5, verse 1. And we're getting into the adulterous woman. And he's bringing this back in. He's already addressed this one before, as well as those who are perverted people, those of a perverse tongue, and those who are bloodthirsty, those who are thieves. My son, be attentive to my wisdom, incline your ear to my understanding, that you may keep discretion, and your lips may guard knowledge. So incline your ear to understanding, be attentive to wisdom, keep it all, keep discretion. And it's going to guard you. It's going to guard you. Your lips may guard knowledge. Because what's the point of giving you all of this if you're just going to ignore it? All right? This can benefit you, help you in everyday life. Use it. Use it. Now, we come to this from the New King James. From the New King James, we have the words, the immoral woman. And I am switching back and forth. This may be confusing to you. I'm switching back and forth from the New King James to the English Standard. And that may be confusing. I don't want to confuse anybody in this, but I'll just let you know that's what I'm doing. But from the New King James, we have the immoral woman. From the English Standard, we have the forbidden woman. From the Old King James, that when I was a kid, that just confused me. The Old King James 1611, says strange woman. That just confused me of Well, what level of strangeness? Because I couldn't quite grasp what does that mean? Because I can look at the behavior of like my aunt and say, well, that was kind of strange. Does that match the level that is being, that it's, to me, just did not help. Saying immoral, I got that. All right. Saying forbidden, I've got that. I understand that. What does the word strange actually mean? Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to look down my nose at the translators in 1611. I'm not going to do it. They were doing their best, and they were also translating it to English of the day. All right? And they were Hebrew scholars, and they were also Greek scholars. But that word in this that the King James says as strange is someone of another. All right, someone that doesn't belong to you. This would be, and also that same word can be used for harlot. But someone that simply doesn't belong to you at all. It's to a family, it's of another household. But forbidden is really works better, especially when I was a kid. And I remember it was a friend of mine. He was religious. He was religiously wrong for the most part, but he was religious. And he talked about, have you ever considered doing a study from Proverbs on the strange woman? And I didn't quite understand, what does that mean? It didn't quite click. But and the fact of the matter is, you could soon figure it out if you went and looked at the context of everything. But verse 3, all right, for the lips of the forbidden woman drip honey. All right, for the lips of the immoral woman drip honey out of her mouth, and her mouth is smoother than oil. We've already learned from earlier passages, it's those flattering lips. That's the flattering that is there. She drips honey. Here is the temptation. Temptation is there. And temptations are real. That's what he's trying to stress to his son. Temptations are real. If temptations didn't work, Satan couldn't be effective at all. But somehow he is. Somehow he's very effective. How? Temptations work. That on some people, on many people, I can say on most people, they will work. All right? So here is this woman. She can flatter with her lips. Verse 4, but in the end she is bitter than wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. And I will put in another word in this, poison. Another word, toxic. Here is someone who will change your life, and not for the better ever. Getting yourself into a condition that, getting yourself into a situation that it's going to change everything. And I've told you stories of some that I have known or some that I have heard of where because of falling for this, they lost their family, they lost the wife and children, lost their job, lost all respect anybody had for them, and gained nothing, got nothing in return. But there was the smooth words. There was the dripping honey. That all of this speech. It sounded good. It sounded good, but it came to just the worst thing you could have done. It destroyed your life. She is bitter than wormwood. Well, would you describe someone who lost everything as being as bitter as wormwood? Well, yeah, extremely bitter. Whether you've had wormwood or not, I have not. All right, but it's something extremely bitter. Sharp as a two-edged sword, yes. Now notice, Her feet go down to death. Her steps follow the path of Sheol. That's the grave, or actually that's the realm of the dead. She does not ponder the path of life. Now, here we have two very distinct ways in which this is translated. English Standard first, her ways wander, she does not know it. New King James, her ways are unstable, you do not know them. I think either way works. We've already learned that from chapter 3, that those who are foolish, those who reject knowledge, those who are just going out, just blundering around in the dark, they don't know their ways. They really don't. And you don't know them either. Okay, let's just, by way of example. Cain. You think he just, for his life, had it as a life goal to kill Abel? No. No, he didn't. That was not his goal in life. But as God says directly to Abel, you are to rule over sin. To Cain, sorry. It says to Cain directly. Sorry, this is going to get confusing if I do that. All right, he says directly to Cain. Thank you. That you should rule over sin, or it's going to rule you. And it doesn't take long thereafter that we find, it's ruling over him, and he kills Abel. All right. Did he know where he was headed? That he was headed directly to becoming a murderer? No. No, it's only after he takes a deep breath and sees he just killed his brother that he realized, oh, yeah. All right. Judas Iscariot. Judas Iscariot, he is a thief. He's stealing from the money box of Christ. This, in its own right, or in its own sake, is extremely vile, because he's using the ministry of the Son of God to steal money. All right, that's bad. But do you think, because I do not, do you think that he had it in his mind that from a childhood that should he ever meet the Messiah, he wants to betray the Messiah? That was just his life's goal. No, of course not. And even while he is in the ministry, such as times like Matthew chapter 10, he is sent out with the other 11, and they are performing miracles, and he would also be performing miracles like the others were doing, including raising the dead, which they were told to do. All right? Do you think that it was in his mind of, eventually I'm going to betray Jesus of Nazareth, who's obviously the Son of God? No. No. And we come to these words. She does not ponder the path of life. Her ways wander, and she does not know it. She doesn't know where she's heading. She doesn't know. Verse 7, and now, O son, listen to me, and do not depart from the words of my mouth. Do not depart from them. Keep them. Keep your way far from her, and do not go near the door of her house, nor lest you give your honor to others and your years to the merciless. This is what's going to happen. This will be the end result. Her feet go down to death. Her steps follow the path of Sheol. You stay away. You stay far away from her. Why? Because you are the prey. That's why. Don't become self-confident. You are the prey. You're the rabbit. That over there is the wolf. That's the wolf. Now, before anyone wants to think that this only applies to women, it does not. This is also concerning any man that would, what we would call the forbidden man. It would be someone who is not yours, someone who is not your husband, just like this is not the man's wife. This is somebody else. And be far away from them. You don't want to be in their proximity if you can help it. One, you're going to be the prey. Number two, you're going to be drawn into a storm and a squall. You don't want to be in that either. You don't want to be in that. This person is making a wreckage out of their life and a wreckage out of those around them, and you just want to get out of that. You want to get away from there. Now, Lord Byron, I'm just talking about him just for a second. Lord Byron. Lord Byron was an English poet. Okay. I'm bringing him out to say this because he had a lot of problems. I'm talking about moral problems. And there were those that said, as a matter of fact, it's a rather famous quote by someone who knew him who said he was mad, bad, and dangerous to know. All right, dangerous to know, meaning you don't want to be around him. You don't know what he's going to do. You don't want to get caught up in what he might do next because you simply don't know. And the same thing would be said concerning what is here in the book of Proverbs. Stay away from this person. Now, we continue on, verse 10, with the results in this. Okay? Lest strangers take their fill of your strength and your labors go to the house of a foreigner. They go to somebody else. And at the end of your life you groan when your flesh and body are consumed, and you say, how I hated discipline, and my heart despised reproof. I did not listen to the voice of my teacher or my teachers, or incline my ear to my instructors. I am at the brink of utter ruin in the assembly of the congregation. Here is this final realization: I messed up. I was given everything I needed to know, and I didn't guard it. I didn't keep it. Yes, ma'am.
Isn't this ironic? It's Solomon.
Yes,
saying
that is correct. It is a grand irony, and it's heartbreaking, but also instructive that the man writing this is a man who went astray. Not a little bit. All right, he went astray. And as we had actually discussed last week, a couple of weeks ago, I can't remember now, as we discussed that he began doing things that God had forbidden kings from doing. They don't sound immoral, but the king was forbidden from doing it. And it's almost, no, it is. It's very much a list like this says you're not, kings aren't supposed to do this, and that's exactly what Solomon did. He's going point by point and saying, yeah, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to do it anyway. And at the end of his life, when he was getting older, that his heart leaves God and clings to all these wives he has collected and their beliefs, and begins making shrines and temples for these various gods and goddesses, the pagan gods. All right, that's what he's doing. And as we made mention, whenever it was, that was punishable by death. According to the law of Moses, that was punishable by death. Now, as we also stated, it's the king who's going to do it. Who's going to do that? And But it's still, and it is this irony that you have someone like Solomon, and it comes to this, like we read from the end of Nehemiah. Let's just go there, if you would. Got to go in the right direction. At the end of Nehemiah, we see something that Nehemiah says in this. Okay, verse 26. So Nehemiah 13, chapter 26. Did not Solomon, king of Israel, sin by these things? Yet among many nations there was no king like him, who was beloved of his God, and God made him king over Israel. Nevertheless, pagan women caused even him to sin. Meaning, don't play with fire. Meaning, keep wisdom. Do what he didn't do, which keep the wisdom that he had. He's able to put it down on paper, but he's not keeping it, which is a lesson. All right, he who thinks he stands, take heed lest he fall. All right, don't think that somehow you're going to be more clever, stronger. You're not. You can't be. If someone like Solomon can fall like this, then any one of us can. Any one of us can. Because there was no one who God goes to them and says, what do you want? Tell me what you want. And he says, wisdom. And God's going to give it to him. But just because someone has the knowledge, has the wisdom, does not mean they're locked into it. You can ignore it at any time. You have that ability, and it's built into you to accept it, to reject it at any time that you want to. Accept it when it's convenient, reject it when it's not so convenient, when you don't like it anymore. Now, we have gone over time, and I apologize for that. We'll continue next week. Thank you, everybody, for being with us.